All right, everybody, Cinephile Mike is here, and it is episode 23 of Oscar Rewind Season 2, my bi weekly series of videos dropping every Tuesday and Friday, where I revisit films that reflect the work of this past year's Oscar nominees and winners. I dig deep into those IMDb profiles, and my hope is that you will discover a new, older favorite, or maybe revisit something you haven't seen in a while. As always, I'll be discussing the Oscar connection for the film, awards history for the particular film, box office information, critical response, and as always, these reviews are spoiler free. Now, before we jump in, quick plug, do me a favor, click that subscribe button. You definitely want to be a part of all the cinematic goodness that is coming here and more stuff coming this season. I'm so excited to talk to you about. So, rewind back to the focus. Today is our penultimate episode of what we are in Actor Month. All of May, we have been looking at the winning and nominated lead and supporting performances from this past season and where they've come from. Today, for the first time this season, we're going into the foreign language film domain, and I'm taking a look at On the Road to Berlin. Now, before I jump in, I'm going to apologize if I butcher any of these names. I was going to do my best. I was trying to get my Russian underway. Little disclaimer. So, On the Road to Berlin, directed by Sergei Popov and written by Evgeny Nikishov, is based on the war diary of Konstantin Simonov and the novel Two in the Steppe. The film was released in its home country of Russia in 2015, where it made $490,337, which makes up the film's worldwide total. Now, as for its critical response, well, none to speak of with this film. The film posts no information on Rotten Tomatoes, so why are you wondering if this film is here? Well, if you can kind of glean from the poster over my shoulder, this is one of the earlier performances of this past season's supporting actor nominations, Yura Borisov. Now, Borisov was nominated for his quiet and rather comedic at times performance in Anora, and tragically was the only nomination the film didn't win that this past year, although I think we can all agree Culkin was pretty much untouchable, and his performance was great. So, as for On the Road to Berlin's awards Germany, it was quite small. As per our usual source, IMDb, the film received recognition at the Montreal World Film Festival, where the film was nominated for the Grand Prix d'Amérique prize, which is the top prize of the festival, and it won the special mention of the ecumenical jury at said festival. So, what is this film about? Well, let's go back in time to the summer of 1942. In Russia, on the Southern Front, the Russian army is determining their next moves. One such officer is Lieutenant Sergei Ogarkov, played by Borisov. A young soldier, he fills the role of a communications officer, traveling between different camps, delivering and receiving orders and reports. One day, while on a delivery, the town he's in is bombed and attacked by the Germans, and Ogarkov runs away, surviving this. However, he is eventually caught by his own fellow soldiers and charged with desertion and cowardice, which leads, based on those orders, to execution by a firing squad. He is put under imprisonment pending approval of this, and he is guarded by Officer Zhuherbev, played by Amir Abdikalov, a Russian soldier of Asian descent. Zhuherbev has a reputation for being stoic and very by the book, and he keeps watch, although then a new order is presented that states that Army headquarters now has to approve this death penalty that Ogarkov is under based on a new policy regarding death based on penalty of the situation. Now, as a result, Zhurbayev will have to escort Ogarkov to the main Army headquarters to determine appropriate next steps. Now, as they venture on, to say that this relationship is fraught is a bit of an understatement. Ogarkov keeps getting very incensed at Zhurbayev's lack of conversational skills, lack of direction, and just he even constantly threatens to run off and attack him. I mean, there are multiple opportunities that he actually has to do so. And as they journey on foot, the two men, based on the circumstances they're in, slowly begin to develop a kind of relationship, which is then furthered to become more of comrade at arms when on their way they are met by fellow soldiers and are forced into an attack that is being made against a German blockade at the borders. So it is with this, challenge after challenge of the attacking Germans that makes their journey to get to the headquarters difficult. And they have to kind of find a way to communicate with one another. The interesting thing is, while this is a war film, it's not really a war film. There are some incredible battle sequences, which are very well shot and a little uncomfortable to see, but so much more than that. This film is really a tale of brotherhood and comradeship in the face of tragedy. It kind of like there's some little hints when you think about like the two soldiers in 1917, Sam Mendes' 1917, that was a little prominent here. This film is very brief in its 85 minutes or so, which may have been a little too short. It's almost, if you watch this film, you feel like there's a chunk of something missing in the last third. But it's really a survivalist tale for these two. And I have to say, Borisov is quite a delight in this, and it was really fun to see him play a different type of role, getting to show his range, because it's almost like the polar opposite. Here and on the road to Berlin, he does have some quiet moments, but a majority of them, he is loud, he is verbose, he's constantly talking, he's threatening other people, he's, a little bit broader, almost kind of like what Mikey Madison did in Enora. Um, and his co-star Abdikalov is more of the silent Igor Captor kind of role that Borisov played in Nora. So it was an interesting juxtaposition to see these two. I have to say, Borisov, I was very impressed with him in Anora, and I was equally impressed with him too. He has this very magnetic presence, these very intense eyes that just kind of grip you and make you watch what he's doing. He, has mastered a turn of phrase and just gives a really decent performance in this. Nikashov's script does, it's great. They give us two fully fleshed out characters in Ogrkov and Zherbaev, and, the actors do an excellent job portraying these. Each of them at different times is going to make a decision where you want to like almost scream at the film and scream at the screen and be like, don't do that, don't do that. And I won't spoil what that is. But you see that behind these tough exteriors, I mean, at the end of the day, these are two young men serving their country, for different reasons. And there is honor and there is reputation and there is value. And it comes out in ways that you might not necessarily expect in films like this. Usually you get one character who's a little more deplorable and maybe has a change of heart by the end, seeing what happens to the good person. But here we have two solid protagonists who are dealing with the antagonist of war. And again, battle sequences were a little uncomfortable, which is good for a war film. They were very realistic. They really put you in the mix of the front line. You know, the challenge with the film, I mean, do I think this would be an Oscar contending film? Not necessarily. And again, there was a little part in the middle. I kind of feel like we get to this great climax and then we get everything resolved a little too quickly. But it was a good watch. And that's what I love about Rewind is that I get to watch these films and share these films with you that maybe you haven't heard of or maybe wouldn't think to go back and watch. And look, if you were a Borisov fan in Nora, this one is one to watch for him. So look, at the end of the day, On the Road to Berlin, it's a solid, it's a 3-star film. It's not amazing, it's not great, but it's not bad or skippable. Like this one is watchable, and it should be, especially if you're a fan of his, if you like foreign cinema, because we don't often get a lot of World War II perspectives from some of the other countries besides America, Germany, um, and Italy. It was interesting to see the Russian component in this. So, if you would like to catch this film, you have a couple of options. It is currently streaming on the Roku channel, or you can watch it on Tubi with ads. All right, so there you have it. We have one more entry for Actor Month, and we are going to end with the first featured performance of a performer who almost we thought was going to pull an upset this season. Do you know who I'm talking about? Well, if not, you're going to have to watch episode 24. As always, if you like what you heard here, please make sure you click that subscribe button, like the video, share the video, spread the word. You can follow me, Cinephile Mike, on all social media platforms and on Letterboxd, and find lots of great additional cinematic goodness on my website, cinephilemike.com. All right, happy watching, everyone, and until next time, this is Cinephile Mike saying take a break and watch something new.